What I want to do is start this way. Is it possible to pull up an image on YouTube of PBD interviewing the lawyer? I'd like people to get an idea of what happened today.
Yeah.
I think there were 16,000 people watching live. Okay?
At once.
You know, usually we get 5, 6, 8,000 people
like
watching
10,
live, 10,000 sometimes. 16,000 is a big number. Okay? You pull that up, Kels?
Perfect.
Okay, that's her. We all know PBD, the logo, maybe a shot of the both of them. Boom.
Right.
So they had a great discussion today. It was amazing. And, you know, everyone wants to know what the hell's going on with Tate these days. And she provided a lot of insight as to what is happening. And I think a lot of us have always understood that this is just a complete frame job.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anybody that actually believes that he was holding women hostage or sex trafficking or any of that. I think a lot of it is trumped up charges. You guys let me know what you think. Is there some validity to this? Have you seen anything that proves that he's actually guilty? Because I firmly believe in innocent till proven guilty.
Right.
But we're starting to see a drip of information out there that's like, that doesn't add up. Okay, yep, the government's probably corrupt. They probably don't like that he's been calling out certain powerful individuals. I don't know. This guy Tate says a lot of misogynistic things taken out of context for the most part. And I just think that it's sort of a frame job of what they're trying to do. But we've learned anything with interviewing everyone that we've interviewed here on PBD's podcast, on Valuetainment, the mafia guys, CIA, FBI. If the government wants to bring you down, they will find something to bring you down with, whether it's tax evasion or trafficking or jaywalking at some point. The government will get you. Now you think that's funny? Yeah. So here's what we do know about Tate. That he did run a webcam business, okay, that was for female sex workers. We know that. Here's also the deal. There's nothing illegal about that. There's strip clubs. There's different sex websites. There's OnlyFans. There's cam girls. It might be a little risque, a little provocative at times, but there's nothing fundamentally illegal about that. Now, you also kind of need to pay your employees. You got to pay your taxes. That's fine. That's common business practices. But it's actually, for the most part, a legitimate business. It might be a sultry business. You might look down on it, sex workers, but it is legal, okay? So here's what's happened since then. So, you know, there's been some leaked chats about the women who are basically making these allegations, the accusers. So do we want to start with the chats or do we want to start with the actual New York Post article of what's going on?
Let's do the New York Post
Okay,
first,
let's start with the New York Post,
and
then we'll get into the chats of what's happening out there.
Yeah.
And by the way, there's going to be a message here for you guys regarding your money at the end of this thing. So it's not just, hey, we're covering Tate, hey, that's the story. There's something that you can learn from this. Okay, so let's start with that New York Post article that's basically highlighting the $300 million counter lawsuit that Tate is threatening the accusers with. So Natalya, I know that you've been working on your reading, not only super chats, actual books, actual magazines, actual articles. So would you do the honors of sort of highlighting what the details are on this case, would you?
Sure. So let's pull up the, okay, cool. So
let's start with the top of the article if we can. Oh, we already saw that, okay.
Okay. You want me to start at the top or where she highlighted?
No, we got that, sorry. Go ahead.
All right. And then Kelly, where should I start?
The letter included the woman.
Okay. The letter included a threat to sue a woman and her family for $300 million if she didn't take back her accusations. In April 2022, the letter reads, "You falsely stated to a third party that our client human trafficked you, abused you, and held you against your will. You have repeated false and defamatory statements to the police, the media, and another United States citizen about the Tate brothers."
Scroll down. Okay, court documents.
All right. Court documents in the case detail on how Tates are accused of heading a brutal crime gang that tricked women into sex trade, allowing the brothers to earn the riches and bragged about their widely banned social media posts.
Okay.
I want to continue?
Yeah, no, that's good. So basically, and if you can scroll down, there's a picture of the lawyer right there. By the way, she ended up randomly, of all people in the world, of all people that can be doing this, she went to high school with PBD.
I know.
What is that all about?
Very interesting.
Enter conspiracy theory number 4. Okay? But that's very random. But I thought she was very capable. I thought she was very competent.
Yes.
I thought she was well-spoken. She's represented some very famous people. I think it was the singer Kesha. I think she represented
Johnny Depp.
Wow. Was it? No, it wasn't Johnny. It was Jussie Smollett. Everything that but she's dealt with some very high profile lawsuits. That's for sure. So what's interesting about these lawsuits and why I think that it's such nonsense of what is happening right now is that some messages have been leaked. Some messages have been leaked. Now, have you ever been accused of something you have not done? Oh, there is nothing more frustrating than that.
Yes.
If you've been accused of something you've done, or maybe it's contorting the truth, maybe there's like, there's like that weird feeling of you caught me, but was I right? Was I wrong? But when you're innocent, let's say, and somebody accuses you, and they're so certain about it, and it's so public in this case, there's no worse feeling in the world. Yeah. And that's why Tate is basically countersuing or just suing, not even countersuing because there's no lawsuit, for $300 freaking million. Yeah. And you know what? Something tells me that if these women are lying, which we're going to show some evidence of what they're doing, and they're basically conspiracizing or conspiratorially going after him, that he could win hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, I don't know how he's going to recoup this kind of money from these women, but this is what's going on. So WhatsApp messages have been leaked between the 2 women who are basically involved with the Tate. So apparently, there's this whole lover boy method that men basically perpetuate this love fantasy with women, and they prey upon their emotions to get them to convince them to do things that maybe are not in their best interests. That's this lover boy method. But what is the lover girl method? Bum, 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 bum. The lover girl method is this. So the women pretended to be in love with Andrew and Tristan as far as to basically get in with them and to, as you'll see, try to basically make a Netflix documentary
out of this. Wow.
So this is some pretty weird stuff. So they pretended to fall in love with Andrew and Tristan. Now, I don't know if they were sex workers, if they were cam girls. I don't have those exact details. So don't, shit on me because I don't know the exact details of who these women were. All I know is that they were in their life. Right. And the women have names. There's Emma and Aliona. Let's just call her Emma and Ali. Okay. And basically, here's some of the chats. We can pull this up, and we don't need to go into detail of the chats, but just you can see what's going on. They scroll down. They're using terms like this. You're such a good actress. This is what they're saying to themselves. You're such a good actress. Yes. Just play dumb. Act like you don't know what's going on. Pull out some tears, or I'm going to pull out some tears, and we're going to make the brothers think that we're in love. Oh, by the way, we need a fucking Oscar for the acting job that we are doing. Wow. How about this? I can't wait to make a movie out of this and submit it to Netflix. You can see some of the stuff that's going on here. Text after text after text after text after text. Wow. So when you see evidence like this, this isn't texts of girls being like, he hit me, he raped me, he abused me. It's let's do something together, act it out, okay, play our role, and hopefully submit this to Netflix for a massive payday. These women, as it turns out, are the traffickers. Okay? Trafficking lies, trafficking conspiracies, trafficking hurt into the Tates' lives. Now, what's happened to the Tates? They've had their assets seized, okay? As far as a global reputation, it's not like Tate had a massive, great reputation in certain circles. Right. In certain circles, people loved him, admired him. I bet even here on Valuetainment, we've had a great time with Tate, class act of a guy. But certain people were looking
for
ways to hate this guy. And this is what they've done. We all saw what happened with Greta Thunberg and the pizza and all this drama. It turned out to all be nonsense. The government of Romania were working on this case for quite some time. They could have raided the house at any moment, but they basically waited for the opportune moment. So here's what I took away from what the lawyer had to say. Because Pat, the last question he said was, so, what's your take? You're a woman.
Yeah.
What's your take on Andrew Tate's message that he puts out there versus what has been perpetuated in the MSM, the mainstream media? Mm-hmm. And she goes, listen, I think it comes down to long-form content and short-form content. Yes. You can find a 30-second clip of him saying, well, women are property. But if you extrapolate and go over to the long-form content, he would say something like, well, traditionally, the father of the bride gives away the woman and it becomes the man's property. So like, if you don't tell the full story of a wedding, let's say, and you just hear the woman is the property, then it's okay to jump to conclusions. Right. But I thought that it was very interesting that a woman, a female lawyer, Johnny Depp used that as a female lawyer, Tate's done it now. It's kind of saying, hey, I trust you. You're capable. You can get the job done. This is my life and my freedom on the line. And I'm going to pick the best person for the job. And he chose her. Now, from an optics standpoint, it's also beneficial to have a woman defending you if you're this misogynist. Right. Well, it just comes back down to to her point. She goes, I think Andrew Tate's message is really one of self-improvement, getting your shit together, stop being fat, lazy, and a loser. And if you actually put in the work, you can become a top G or the top G for that matter. Now, what she also said was, what I think the world thinks of Tate is misogynist, right? Woman hater, woman beater, right? And I think that's a very unfair mischaracterization of what he stands for. Is there some element of it? Meaning, has he said things that are shocking? Sure. Yeah. But you know what I also stand for more than anything? Freedom of expression, freedom of speech, freedom of belief. You don't have to agree with what Tate is saying, but that's the whole premise of freedom of speech. I don't necessarily agree with what you're saying, but I will defend your right to say it. So where are we at as a society today that we're canceling people because we don't like what they say or how they make you feel? Okay? And that it's okay to have outrage. It's okay to have backlash. That's fine. Yes. You can protest. But what you can't do is just cancel somebody because you don't agree with what they have to say. Right. So, and I also believe in innocent until proven guilty.
I thought what also was shocking was how she explained how difficult it was to get in communication with them. You would think that because you're representing people that you'll be able to have certain conversations with them, privacy with them. And she shared how everything's in a different language. So everything for the Tate side is like for them to fail, essentially. So it makes you think, like, are they really trying to help him prove himself innocent till guilty, or are they trying to make it as difficult as possible to pin something on him or them? And it was just interesting because you see what's going on. You see them struggling. Like, you see the photo. Like, I see the photos of Tate today, and I'm like, man, like, he looks beat up. We're used to seeing him like top G with his cars and his money, and he's together, he's clean, he's, and both of them. And to see them, like, they look like they're struggling. And it's very sad because I know there's people in the world who are enjoying it. There's people in the world who I do think believe what is going on is true. And, the women who are having these conversations behind closed doors, I feel bad for those women only because it's like you have to stoop down to this lowest level to have some sense of success in your life. And I think to find success through failure and through like mischievous things, it's a bad way to represent yourself. And when the truth comes out, like how some of these text messages are, it makes a woman even look even worse, And I think that's important today that, when there's times of chaos and disaster, people who resort to feeding into that rather than doing the right thing. But it was very interesting to hear her take, and you can see she was very like I don't want to say worried, but she was very like, I want to help these gentlemen. Mm-hmm. There's no like, I'm looking for a paycheck. You know, you can meet people and you're like, oh, you're just looking for the fame and the light and the clout. And you can see she's really trying to work to get away, get them out of jail. Mm-hmm. So it's very sad overall, the whole story. I think this whole story is the women, the men, the situation. But I think once it ends and everything comes to light, I think it's going to be a real big eye-opener for everybody out in the world. Mm-hmm. I think everybody's going to think twice before they do certain things. And I think it'll be a good lesson for everybody, but I hope that it comes to the truth coming out and everybody gets the fair result of that.
Yeah, it was a great glimpse into what it's like being an attorney, representing someone who's been falsely accused, trying to communicate with somebody in another language on the other side of the world. She's in California, I believe. Yes. So communicating from California to Romania, that's probably a 10-hour difference.
Yes.
Okay. What I thought was interesting, and this is, if you ask me what I think Tate stands for, it's stoicism, right? Dealing with pain and hardship and not crumbling and not giving into the worst that you can kind of get to. Some people want to play victim. That is not what Tate stands for. That's the biggest takeaway I took from him, having a positive mindset. And it was very interesting, because there was 4 of them within the Tate crime family, so to speak, that were in jail. It was the Tate brothers, Andrew and Tristan, but also 2 women that worked with them. I think it was Georgina and another lady as well. Mm-hmm. Do you know that they freed the 2 ladies? They took they put the 2 ladies that were in jail, they put them on house arrest, so they're home now. Right. And he said, well, what are your thoughts on that? And she goes, I spoke with Andrew and Tristan, and who are currently in jail, I think in side-by-side cells. Yeah. And she goes, the one thing that I will tell you about Tate is that he was happy that the women were out and that they were still in there. Wow. Okay? Think about that for a second. This misogynist, this person that hates women, was happy to hear that the 2 women were out home safely and they're still suffering in jail. Right. So listen, I think any gentleman would put a woman who's falsely accused ahead of themselves and put himself in harm's way, so to speak, still in jail while the women are at least free. I thought that was very interesting. So we'll see what happens here. And my prediction is these women, Emma and Aliona, what I call the accusers, they are going to soon stand trial as to what they did wrong. So every hero or every main character has a story arc. And this is sort of the lowest moment in the story arcs, in this character's story arc. And something tells me that there's a silver lining, and as we say around here, the future looks bright. So it seems to me this is not the end of Tate. I don't think he's going to rot in cell for the rest of his life. No. I just don't see it. Something tells me he's going to redeem himself. He's going to come out the victor and just stay the course and keep a positive mindset. And do some push-ups while you're in jail. Come out a little bit stronger than you were on the other side.
And talk about being like mentally strong. You go from living a certain lifestyle, certain standards, certain things that you've, sacrificed over your lifetime to have that lifestyle, to go live the life of being in jail, being accused and doing all those things. Like, talk about turmoil. I can only imagine the mental state. Like, physical state, okay, you do some push-ups, sure. Yeah. But the mental toughness and the mentality you have to go through that. And then being in a different, country and all those things. Like, there's so many aspects to it. So, I hope it comes to conclusion very quickly.
I'll add one more thing. By the way, can you do a poll real quick if you think Tate is innocent, the Tates are innocent or guilty? That'd be interesting to see. I'll say one last thing about the Tates and regarding money. Okay? Regarding money specifically. Because, we do like to cover some money on Valuetainment Money and the Soscast where finance meets romance. We talked about this. It was Pat, Tate, and myself, and we talked about the greatest joy of having money and building wealth is remembering when you were broke. Yes. And ruminating over that fact. You remember when we were eating ramen noodles? You remember when we didn't have 2 pennies to pull together? Do you remember when we were living in our car? Look at us now. Right. So what's that?
What's the poll?
Innocent or guilty? So the story arc, as I mentioned, when I moved out of Miami to join Valuetainment in Dallas, I was living in a sick condo, penthouse, Miami, bay views, and I was living a good life. It was the middle of COVID, and I could have chose to live anywhere in Dallas. I literally signed up for the smallest, tiniest one-bedroom shack. I didn't have anything to prove. I didn't know anybody in Dallas. All I was doing was working, and I found comfort and solace in just minimalism. So something tells me that Tate is sitting in a cell, probably like this.
Just like that.
And just focusing, probably making a list, almost like a hit list, like Kobe used to do, of people you got to get back at. And just getting his mind, his spirit, and his soul prepared for when he's on the outside of how he's going to go and basically take down the people who have wrongfully accused him.
Right.
So with heartbreak, you can bounce back and become a stronger person and shape your heart. When you're wrongfully accused of something, you can't wait to get back out there and prove yourself and prove your innocence. And I feel like all that and then some is going to happen to Tate. So for you out there, if you're dealing with some struggles in your life, okay, just know that when one door closes, another door opens. So this too shall pass, a lot of people say. So find stoicism, find solace in the fact that you're still alive, you're still breathing, life's good, and that if you are innocent, justice will prevail.
Yes.
I feel like I sound like Batman right now. So if you like that clip, click right here to watch another, or if you want to watch the entire Soscast, click right here.